Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the CoinGeek Weekly Live Stream, episode 2 of Season 2. I'm your host, Kurt Wuckert Jr. On the chilliest day of the year in South Florida, I gave away all of my winter jackets and wool socks and everything, and wouldn't you know it, I woke up and it was about 45 degrees today, and my palm trees are looking chilly. So I'm wore a hoodie today. And the home doesn't have a heater at all. So normally I wear like a nicer dress shirt, but I am very cold in the house. So that's what I'm doing today. Our guest today is going to be Lorien Gamaroff, founder, CEO, and really cool guy over at Centbee, a guy who I haven't talked to in quite a long time. We used to talk to quite a bit more, and I'm really looking forward to playing a little bit of catch up. But before we go there, I want everybody to, first of all, like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff. Hit the alert bell so you know every time there's new content up at the CoinGeek YouTube channel. But across all social media, if you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, or wherever else, let them know that we are doing a live show. You can do live Q&A. We're not going to do a specific Q&A section or session in the show. So if you have a good question, just post it up there. And the delightful and lovely Alex Moon will post it into the chat so we can ask Lorien or you can ask me, whatever, depending on where the conversation goes. So I will be talking a little bit about Centbee, but also a little bit about what's going on in the Bitcoin economy. And I want to start by saying I've had a million people asking me, like, what's going on in BSV right now? And the answer is nothing. I've been a Bitcoiner for going on 10 years now. And if there's one thing that people like to do, it's bicker about the right way to do Bitcoin. And so that's a thing that is probably never going to stop. And frankly, it never should. It's something that we all care about and we should expect. I'm muting my phone because it's buzzing on me. It's something that we should expect. It's something that we love, we're passionate about. We are here in Bitcoin, an admittedly difficult economy, a difficult concept for people to understand, a place where even now, when I have to tell people what I do for a living, and I mention Bitcoin, and they're, what is that? Isn't that kind of a scam, or isn't it something kind of silly? And people don't get it. So we're still at a very early phase in the Bitcoin economy where people aren't sure what to do. And so innately, that means that the people that are here are they're in a spot where they're the early ones, they're the passionate ones, they're the crazy ones, and this is the people that they're the people that change the world, and that's really what we're here doing. So a little bit of bickering from people. Like, I don't quote unquote hate anybody. If I have a spat with people out there, these are healthy things. I will break bread, have a beer, have a coffee. And I think this is the case for everybody involved in some of the bickering that goes on in these conversations. And so I want to quell anybody's fears. People keep DMing me, Kurt, what's going on? And the answer is we're human beings and we're having human conversations about things we really care about. So be good to each other. I like to close the show by saying be good to each other a lot. And I want to stress that, you don't have to work with the people you don't want to work with. If you don't like the way that one guy does a thing, like, you can just work with other people. Like, this is an economy. Just because we all like Bitcoin, it's just like people who like to earn dollars. You're not forced to go do business with every company on earth that accepts dollars just because we're the dollar community. That's a weird concept there, but it's because we're small. And it makes us look even smaller if we continue to bicker too. So I just want everybody, take a step back, take a breath, realize Bitcoin matters, but people matter more. Like, the reason Bitcoin matters at all is because it should allow us to incentivize better cooperation with each other. So I'm not going to get super philosophical. I'm not going to rant for very long. I'm actually very excited to talk to Lorien, and we'll bring him on. Alex, do we have an ad before we do this, or are we cutting straight in? Okay, we got an ad. We have advertisers. If you want to be an advertiser, I implore you, I challenge you, please reach out to Alex Moon. Prices are not that expensive to advertise on this show. We get many, many listeners, typically. So if you want to push your product, push your service, you got something cool coming out. I'm excited about like the Slavets NFT thing. Like, I've not been a big NFT fan for a long time, but I like what's going on with the Gopniks and the Gopniks DAO and the Slavets and the SIG token. Like, they all interact with each other and show us all the ways that you can do all kinds of interesting stuff. So pay attention to what's going on with the NFT space, because there's some interesting stuff. But we're going to talk about payments after this ad with Lorien Gamaroff. Welcome back. Lorien, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Kurt. I'm looking forward to a year of a lot of progress in this crypto space, and also this sort of mad world we find ourselves in. Hopefully, it'll become normalized. Yeah, so I'm pretty pumped, and I just wanted to say I appreciated your sentiments that in the opening, about being good to people and not being such a snowflake and melting, and when something is said that offends you and all that. So thanks for those opening sentiments.
Oh, for sure. I appreciate it, and I mean it. Like Bitcoin can be fun. I believe that we can have strong opinions and also be friends and allies and other things. And I don't know why that seems like such a struggle for so many people, but it is what it
Right.
is. Got we'll do a quick question right out the gate. Mo Miller, when can people top up or purchase BSV in the Centbee wallet? So we're right out the gate. There you go, Mr.
Mhm.
Gamaroff.
Yeah, so this is something that is very important because we've been very focused on people being able to spend their Bitcoin, but you can't spend it until you've got it. And so this has been something that we've been struggling with for many months. And we do have some options now internationally. We've got the Coinify integration, which allows people in some places, even if there's a country that Coinify supports, we found banks often don't allow users to use their credit cards to be able to buy and top up with Bitcoin. So I think this is going to be something that is still going to be difficult for a while, especially while we're in this sort of regulatory gray zone where most banks have this very kind of hard risk-based approach, and have these rules where no crypto payments, no crypto purchases allowed. So it's something we're certainly going to work on, and we're looking at other providers out there. But ultimately, the banks are the ones that really limit us. But check it out in Centbee if you're in one of the countries that we support. You do have to go through some verification, of course, because that's one of the requirements. So as soon as you're swapping your fiat for crypto or vice versa, especially nowadays, it's very important to do the right sort of KYC. And we've always been very close to our regulators and very compliant and virtue signaling with them to show them that we're trying to be responsible and accountable institution. So I know a lot of people kind of resist putting in their IDs, their passports and their names and that sort of thing. But unfortunately, that's just the reality. So anyway, try it out. Download Centbee Wallet, do the verifications. It's fairly painless, and then see if you can top up with your credit card there.
It's an interesting thing. Like 13 years on in Bitcoin, and there's still this notion from the local bank that there's, this is money laundering or something's happening. And, we've seen research both directions. We've seen people come out and say, it's the Bitcoin economy is 90% money laundering. And then we've seen the other side, like, it's like more like 3% money laundering. And, I don't know what the metrics are. I'm not a, data analyst and a researcher at that level. So I can't really speak to it. But at some point, like you said, you're virtue signaling to these institutions and banks and things. And, hey, we're a legitimate company. We're offering payments to other legitimate companies and our KYC process and all of that. Is there, in your experience, what's let me back up. What's the best experience you've had with a bank where they ever just been like, oh, this is great. Let's sign up. Let's make this happen. We're excited.
No, not at all. In fact, we've been struggling mightily with our own banks. We've had a few bank accounts shut down. Banks just decide to have a blanket rule where they don't allow any crypto companies, and so we've been hopping from bank to bank. We now are opening a bank account in Liechtenstein, so that's at least a sort of crypto-friendly jurisdiction.
Yeah,
There are some banks like that around the world, but most banks today, it's a tough call, trying to
yeah,
get that account and maintain that account.
sure. Well, it's
Mm.
interesting because I remember this is going back 6 or 7 years now when Tether first came out. And it was like, oh, okay, that kind of seems like a good idea. And then I remember they lost their banking for the first time. And I remember thinking, like, come on, stupid banks, right? and then they've kind of gotten themselves tumbling in what I think was probably a purely like, this is just necessary for our business. We got to float a little bit of capital right here until we get another bank account. And then I think what it actually did is it taught them how to do what it is that the banks are doing with their own fractional reserve, and like, oh, here's how we can make money by managing a stable coin. And it's funny that I really think that bad banking practices and banks being too conservative actually created the environment to allow a company like Tether to figure out like, oh, here's a giant loophole for us. And now I think it's gone so far, the Tether is probably one of the biggest Ponzi schemes of all time. This would be my guess. It's not been definitively proven, but if it collapses someday, everyone who said it would happen is going to look like a genius. But I think it's funny. It reminds me of, as an American, I recall like each level of the war on drugs, for example. Like, oh, okay, all of a sudden there's a bunch of cocaine coming into the country, and so we're going to enforce it. And all it really did was make the drug dealers richer. And people were able to get cocaine if they wanted it, but it made the drug dealers 10 times richer and much more violent because they had to self regulate and all these other things. And I wonder at what point, government officials and regulators and stuff actually start to take a look at things outside of just like the financial investment aspect and say, look, this is actually a fintech tool. This is actually a business tool. And, maybe we should get in front of this and maybe take a step back. And I would actually argue the same thing about the war on drugs even, and say, okay, it's been 40 years of trying to stop, cocaine from coming in the country, and it's not really working. So can we take a lighter regulatory, at least try something else? Do you think we're getting there? You mentioned Liechtenstein, and there's a couple other places that are trying to do the same thing, but it's the same thing when you say, oh yeah, I have a Seychelles company, or don't worry, we're set up in Gibraltar. You get people that kind of like, okay, like I guess that sounds okay, but it doesn't ring the same as saying like, oh, we're in New York or a London or a Tokyo based company, or that kind of thing, or Joburg in your situation perhaps. But is there anything in South Africa? Is there anything like, what's the biggest bright spot for you? Is there something that gives you hope on that front at all, or is it just like we're still kind of treading into uncharted waters every day?
Well, Bitcoin gives me hope. I think I don't really blame the banks. You mentioned that they're conservative, but it's really the fault of crypto. The fact that crypto just went on this crazy anarchist tangent, and it's all about unconfiscatability and uncensorability and all this junk. Everything that's happened to crypto in the last 10 years has been its downfall. Everything, especially with BTC, it's messaging, trying to hide money outside of the banking system and all that. That in itself has the seeds of its own destruction. And the reason why we live in this world today, where it's so difficult to get banking, it's so difficult to get merchants on board, is because of crypto. Crypto needs to die for Bitcoin to succeed. And Bitcoin, BSV, of course, Bitcoin, actually is the only hope that we have for there to be a blockchain-based token, currency, call it what you like, that will change the world in all the ways that we hope it will. And unfortunately, we're going to have to just keep on riding that storm. Eventually, it's going to end. Eventually, it's going to be shut down. There won't be businesses that will be allowed to have banking, and without banking, you can't operate. And so eventually, you won't have exchanges will be having these casinos. And so it's a cycle that we're in. It's like the dot-com bubble of the 2000s, where there's just this craziness going on, and regulators are bit by bit catching up and slowly tightening the screws. And there was going to be an enormous collapse, a crash. I don't know when it's going to come. I don't think it's going to be very far down the line. And Bitcoin will emerge finally as that utility commodity ledger that ticks all the boxes in terms of compliance and regulatory compliance. Everything that Craig Wright has spoken about, even from the very beginning when he spoke as Satoshi, that is going to be what changes things around. But we are now the smallest voice in this noise. We are this voice in the wilderness, and we're crowded out everywhere. And it's going to be not so much, I think, about us being able to, well, at least, we are seeing a lot of enterprises now and a lot of real use cases coming along, and we certainly are seeing BSV scaling more so than anything else. But that in itself it's going to be a very hard fight to silence the madness out there, which really covers us and hides this little shining light under a bushel. So there's going to have to be some sort of cataclysm, and Bitcoin rises from the ashes like a phoenix, and I'm hopeful on that. It's also terrible for BSV companies, because we've got actually great tools. There's a lot of great stuff out there on BSV now, but it takes the community that exists around BSV, the ones who see the light, see how cool Bitcoin can be. We're so small, we're just this tiny community, and it's very hard as a business to be sustained by that. We're actually doing very well in terms of revenue. We actually make revenue, and which is very rare in BSV, with BSV companies. But even still, our revenue doesn't cover our costs, and we're still relying on our investment, which it's dwindling and dwindling and dwindling, and we're just hoping to be able to make enough revenue to cover costs. Sure. And so the question now is, or at least the battle now, is to just hold on, just survive long enough. So when when it all falls apart and BSV comes riding through shining, the companies that exist in BSV will be able to then receive that tsunami of users, which will come and it'll begin. The era of Bitcoin will finally begin. Yeah. So I'm optimistic about that, but it is going to be a struggle for the short term.
Sure. No, absolutely. And it's funny because BSV has changed a lot in the last 3 years. There was, even the wallet landscape. Like you're a wallet company, but the wallet landscape has changed really significantly. And everybody's gone their direction, like, oh, we're going to support this token protocol, or we're going to focus on gaming, or Money Button is focusing on whatever it is they do at this point. And there's a lot of shakeup in that space. But I think one of the things that really stands out is you have always been very, very firm in your position of using BSV for payments. Like I remember you and I having a conversation, it's got to be 2 years ago now, about tokens and all of that. That's all fine, but you very firmly believe that BSV itself should be the money that we're transacting in. And it's funny because I came from that space. I used to set up like hot dog stands. This is going back 6 or 7 years ago, to accept Bitcoin. And it was always such a struggle because everybody seemed to have that same conversation. Well, I don't know if I want to spend my Bitcoin. And this perennial nonstop, like, well, now it's a $2,000 hot dog that I bought 6 years ago. And I get that, but I was really excited to hear, like, again, that you maintain that position. And then also over the last couple of months, your company keeps announcing these, hey, now you can pay at Walmart, and now you can pay at Netflix, and now you can pay at Krispy Kreme, and some of these other things. And it's had me wondering, like, how are these deals happening with this big brand? What's going on there? So actually, Alex Moon and I were talking about who do we have on for season 2, and I said, I need to have Lorien on. I need to find out what he's doing here. Like, how is he getting these big brands, and how are you handling the processing? Because I know a lot of other people have attempted such things, and it always, it sounds cool, and then it sort of pilfers out. So what's unique? What are you guys doing? How are these partnerships happening? And how can I pay for Netflix with Centbee?
Yeah, right. Well, just to talk about the cash part of it. When I first heard about Bitcoin in 2010, that's what it was. It was cash. It was meant to be this digital cash that you can use without a bank account, and you can spend stuff on it. I mean, in those days it was Silk Road. That was what people were buying stuff with. But the point was that it was cash, and you can buy stuff with it, and that's what it's about. And when I started working on it, then the first thing I built was this a way for people to buy electricity on their smart meters using Bitcoin, because we had this massive problem. I was working at a little smart energy startup, and we had this big problem of how do we get people, and this is in Africa, who don't have credit cards and don't have mobile wallets and bank apps. How do we get them to buy their electricity? And so when Bitcoin came along, it was just the most obvious thing. This easy to access digital payment technology that I could just code up into an app, and people could buy stuff with it. And then after that, I thought, okay, this is great. Electricity is one thing, but I want people to buy everything with Bitcoin. It's a wallet. So Centbee has been really been worked on for the last 12 years. And it started out with a different name, but the concept has never changed. What Centbee is today is what I started with 12 years ago. And I always say to people that I never moved past the title of the white paper. So that has been my goal from the beginning. And I have tried everything in my power for the last 12 years to try and make it easy for people to have Bitcoin and to be able to spend it. But of course, there's been all those complexities, and trying to find merchants and integrate into payment gateways, and extremely difficult to try and introduce new payment methods at retailers, especially if none of the customers are asking for it. That's the biggest thing. A retailer will gladly incorporate some new payment method if customers are clamoring for it, but nobody was clamoring to buy with Bitcoin. And so we've had to try very hard to find ways to get people to buy stuff without having to go directly to those retailers, and finding a way to get the merchant integrators who do the payment integrations. They normally do the points of sale at these retailers. Trying to get them to add a new button onto the console or something. This is something we've been trying for years, and there's just no appetite for it. And so, we've tried really hard to just find every possible way to get people to spend. And so what we did then is what we've done now, which is try and go to, instead of the retailers themselves, and try and integrate and build some kind of gateway into the existing points of sale. Try and get to people to be able to buy credit, store credit. Because once you've got credit at the store, well, then you can take that credit there and you can go and spend it like you would cash. So this was our strategy that we got started, I think about 2 years ago, but only within the country I'm living in now, which is South Africa. And so we had some digital gift card, e-gift voucher companies that we integrated into, and then people here in South Africa for the last 2 years have been able to buy all sorts of stuff, shop online, buy things at the local grocery stores, top up their phone data and airtime, get electricity. I'm just trying to think, watch digital shows and all that sort of thing. So we've actually been running it here in South Africa for 2 years, and also, we have great ways for people to top up with Bitcoin. In fact, South Africa, without a doubt, is the most advanced country in the world today for BSV, because you can go down to your local corner store here and spend Bitcoin and buy Bitcoin over the counter. These little hole in the wall little shops, these little cafes that sell pies and that sort of thing. there's hardly a spot here in the entire country that you can't, and I'm even talking about remote little towns and villages where you can now go with your Centbee wallet, you can top up your Bitcoin, and you can spend it. And it's been like that for 2 years now. And this is now something we absolutely have been wanting to take globally. And we've already begun. We've now got integrations with the same sort of voucher, digital credit, retail credit companies that provide all the stuff that you've seen, like the KFC and the Netflix and we've just got a ton of options all around the world, and very cool countries too, like India and China, countries that typically wouldn't allow that sort of thing, but you can now spend your Bitcoin there in those countries, all sorts of different countries from east to west. Sure. And that's now our goal, is to just keep on loading payment options, spend options into the wallet, so every single country has at least one thing that you can buy with your BSV. And this is really great for us, because it means now we don't need to have some massive sales force that goes out into every one of those markets and tries to bring on board the local retailers there. We can integrate into these credit companies, these retail credit companies, and we can offer all the things that we have now. So we've got another partner that we're about to bring on board again that has a whole bunch of other options. I think the US is going to be very strong. There'll be tons of options in the US. We're going to start there, and then the UK. But Japan, that's our other market that's very strong right now. And we're just going to do that. Just go to every country, provide some kind of option for people to top up, of course, so they can get their Bitcoin and then spend. And if we can do that, then my dream for the last 12 years, I think it's already being realized. We've got it. We've now got the ability to do that. And what's also great is, even though the BSV market is so small, in other words, the users out there, it's tiny how many people out there have BSV. They're starting to use Centbee. We're starting to get a lot of volume coming through our app, because now people have a way to spend their Bitcoin. And so that's really great for us. But of course, we don't have the volumes yet to absolutely sustain us. But when BSV comes through and spreads its wings and can take over the world, which it will do, we'll be ready for them. In fact, I often say to Angus Brown, my co-founder, it's been a blessing, really, that BSV has been so held back, because we've been working very hard to make sure Centbee is stable and robust and resilient, and can handle not only the blocks, because we still have the old school way of running Centbee. We haven't adopted the SPV way of doing it. Sure. But also just to make sure our systems can handle the load. Sure. That's quite tricky when you start getting massive volumes. Software falls over, and I mentioned earlier that I even have to end up supporting guys like Lorien McDonald, which I feel quite shy about. I always hope that that Centbee can operate perfectly with guys like that, because then they can spread the word and say use Centbee. So it's been a blessing that that BSV is being held back, I guess. And hopefully by the time the tsunami comes, we'll be able to handle that load.
Sure. I think that actually answered Steve's question here at the bottom, asking like when other countries and things. So my question is so you say there's this saturation of BSV availability to buy and sell at these corner stores in South Africa. What made that possible? Was it like a particular partnership or something that was just like, oh, here's 50,000 stores, or what is the infrastructure there that makes that so possible?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's coming down to finding those service providers that that have already got integrations into all those stores. What you'll find is that for the different payment gateways, the different ways of making payments here, the terminal providers and all that, there are just a handful of them. And so if you can create a partnership with a provider here, for example, we've got a way to be able to buy Bitcoin with cash over the counter. So we found that provider that has hundreds of thousands of stores around the country. And we did an integration with them, and instantly now we were available in every one of those stores. So we found a few of those service providers, and we've also got a bank provider who allows which allows people to do EFTs, instant EFTs. So from Centbee wallet, you can do an instant EFT and buy Bitcoin instantly. And that means now we've got every major bank in the country. If you've got a bank account here, you can do an instant EFT in Centbee wallet and buy Bitcoin. So that's what the key is to try and find those service providers that are everywhere, and partner with them and do an integration, and then you can cover a lot of ground. And because of that, now because of our experience with that and being able to now say and prove that South Africa is a BSV, shows you how BSV can cover a country. And I mean, in South Africa, you can live on Bitcoin. You can buy your groceries. You can you can do all those things here in South Africa. So we've shown that model works, and that's all we've got to do now is go into every one of those countries. But of course, it does require a sales force, and we're still tiny. We're still just a bunch of people doing our best. But we've seen what it takes to be able to really bring Bitcoin to the world and make it useful as cash.
Well, this actually sounds like a good CoinGeek special. Alex, maybe we should talk to the brass about sending us down to South Africa and see how long we can live on nothing but BSV, or see if we can do like 48 hours or something without spending anything but BSV. I think it'd be pretty good entertainment.
That's so easy. I mean, you can get Uber rides here. You can buy Uber. You can buy groceries. You can shop online. I mean, there's nothing you can't have here.
Awesome.
It's this country is a Bitcoin country.
Oh, love it. I think as soon as maybe the world starts to go back to normal a little bit and we can cross borders a little easier, I think that sounds like a heck of an opportunity to go do something like CoinGeek Cape Town or something like that. So
well, that's coming. Don't worry, that's going to happen.
Love it. Got a question here from Mark Donovan. Will Centbee offer online payment processing services like BitPay, where the customer is quoted a price and pays in BSV via a vendor's website, and then Centbee pays the vendor in desired fiat?
Yes, that is absolutely something that we already have, but it's been sort of a beta project for quite a while now, because we just haven't been able to really focus on putting that out there. All our energy's gone into Centbee Wallet and Minute Money, which is our remittance app as well. And but that's absolutely something that we want to deliver. We have a little beta project called Scanpay, which is exactly like a BitPay, where you can integrate into a e-commerce website, and you have a QR code and you can make payments. We in fact have had that sort of thing here on our with our e-commerce websites here already, but they were all using BTC, and then of course BTC became impossible and practical to use, and so it's really opened up for us to be able to start with that. But again, that's about the time and the resources that we have.
Sure.
But that's, I think, a crucial thing, and certainly a gap. And if there are any entrepreneurs out there who would like to get into this sort of thing, it's actually not a very complicated sort of business to have. Creating a little widget. If you think about companies like Stripe or whatever it is, they just give you a few lines of code that you can paste into a website, and then you can accept payments. So that's certainly, I'm surprised that really hasn't happened with BSV. I know that we've started that whole process, but I think that there's great opportunities for entrepreneurs to give that a go.
No, I agree. It's funny as you were talking about like the vouchers and doing some of the corner store stuff. It's like there are little business models where people could be bridging those gaps and working with Centbee and really anybody else they want to offer various integrations, because it is those like middleware companies whose names you may not know who actually make lots and lots of money in the retail space. Like there's a reason, credit cards take 4% of the swipe, right? And it's because there's a lot of companies in the middle that sort of make the whole process happen in the background. And if there's people out there, I think they should probably send you a message and ask, hey, what do we actually need to make this happen? And go build a company that fills that niche. I've been really stressing this for a lot of years, that like we have this incredible technology, Bitcoin, and then we have all of these economic problems that need to be solved. And every one of those is an opportunity for somebody to create like a consulting business or a setup and customer support kind of business. And I mean, we're literally talking about billions and billions of dollars that could be made in between those things, being the handshake person. So how do you motivate
Yeah.
people to look at something like that and actually see that, like if billions of dollars doesn't motivate somebody, what will? Do you do you have this issue? Do you ever sit back and say, why isn't anybody doing more of this?
Well, I mean, it's easy to understand actually. Again, it comes down to the demand. Right now, as I said, that there's so few people out there who use Bitcoin SV, and certainly very few people out there who are looking at crypto generally as a cash payment system. So, this is just unfortunately again down to the fact that crypto lost its way, and BSV is the weird stepchild. And so I think that perhaps, when it comes to putting capital into a business, you want to sort of have some kind of certainty that there'll be a return on that and there's a future for that. But if you don't understand Bitcoin, you are not going to see those opportunities at all. And I think we've all been so lucky because we've had Craig, who's been able to enlighten us and teach us and educate us about the opportunities here. And so, of course, the BSV community is super excited about these things. We see it. We see that this is going to be another huge industry that takes over the world and creates so many opportunities for so many businesses and so many entrepreneurs. And but not everybody does. And so it's down to us, this little motley crew of people who mostly in their spare time, if you've got technical skills, can throw together some code. But that's what it is. It's a tiny little community who see the light, see the opportunity there, have limited resources. And we've been trying to raise capital from non-BSV types, people, venture capitalists who aren't looking and aren't that interested or don't have a specific focus around BSV. And it's super hard. I mean, we actually have the ability to show revenue, user growth. We've got every single thing that will tick the boxes for a venture capitalist to say, okay, this business looks like it's got legs. It's growing. The numbers, all our charts are pointing up. But yet, the fact that it's Bitcoin and the fact that it's BSV just puts them off. So it's very hard to raise capital outside of the BSV community. We of course have been very lucky to have Calvin, who's a true believer and has the resources to put into the companies that he's been. But that's there's only one Calvin, and
Right.
we need lots of Calvins, and we don't have that yet. So again, it's down to the fact that crypto's lost its way, and
Yeah.
there needs to be a great cleansing, and once that cleansing happens, then you're going to see those green shoots come out, and
Sure.
really, as you said, in fact, in your opening statements, about we're still early adopters. We're still kind of early in this whole process. And it's going to take a lot of people who have real resolve and guts and determination to try and build something that grows to be what it, wonderful, something wonderful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't know what just happened there. I like my whole browser just reloaded, so I'm back. As long as everybody can hear me, I think no harm, no foul. But what's the it's funny talking about community because now it's been you got the Ethereum community and then you got these sub communities into like Polygon and Solana and Avalanche and all these other people that think they're going to change the world for various reasons. And is there a way to leverage people back to look at Bitcoin? And you mentioned like this small niche community and even just talking about like proof of work and the Bitcoin model of doing things. Like so many people have written it off so many years ago, saying proof of work doesn't scale, Bitcoin doesn't scale, and all these things. And part of my mandate as doing what I do is to explain to people, hey, by the way, Bitcoin is actually the most efficient technology for doing these things. But again, I'm just one guy. Like, how do we leverage the people that exist to get out there and do some more of this? I feel like if we just get more ears, it starts to become a numbers game where people say, oh, you know what, I actually have connections in this industry that might be relevant and things like that too. I've hosted meetups. I go to lots of like conferences and I speak at, Alex Moon and I were just at the Consumer Electronics Show. And like, when you actually talk to people, they're all like, oh my gosh, this is incredible technology. Why are we not using this? But how do we make people think about their own experience as like a business opportunity for them? And basically, do you have any advice there? I mean, as another one of these guys who's been around for a very long time, what's your advice to sort of change the way you look at it and get out there and really do something?
Yeah, that is tough. I mean, it's not just tough with Bitcoin, it's tough with all sorts of things, all ideas out there. There's so many bad ideas out there. And, we're always trying to wake people up. I mean, the last 2 years has been perfect example of everyone going mad, and there's a small group of people trying to bring them back, but it's so hard. Yeah, I think that the proof of work idea, it's actually a wonderful little statement because of course it describes the actual proof of work that happens in Bitcoin, but it's the proof that if you've worked on something and you've built something and you can show it and you can demonstrate it, that's really, I think, the only thing that can bring people over the line, because everybody's got a story to tell, as you said, about Solana, about Ethereum, about Ripple, whatever. Every one of those advocates have a great story to tell, and they all talk about how wonderful their technology is, and how it's going to change the world, and how there's so right now the airwaves are just so noisy with everybody selling and shilling, and it's just this cacophony, this noise, and it's going to be impossible to try and convince people that you have the answer. Your idea is the best idea, and it comes down to proving it. And for the companies that are in BSV today, they are the ones that are going to be that proof, to show everybody that, look, this thing can scale, thing can be used for cheap instant payments, and now you've got an example that actually proves what you're trying to sell and what you're trying to say. So this proof of work idea it's a wonderful thing about Bitcoin, because it's going to be the thing that gets people over the line. So it's down to every one of the entrepreneurs in Bitcoin today, every one of those heroes out there who are putting all their effort and trying to build tools, trying to build games, trying to build applications, trying to do enterprise type stuff. It's on them. They are the ones that are going to be the ones that get the world to notice and to recognize. And so we need to support them. We need to join up with on their little platforms. We need to play around with their little tools. it really is about us helping them along in terms of getting the users and showing the world that this is something that can succeed. So it's going to be a tough one, and there's a lot of pressure on all of us. But again, I don't believe that this status quo is going to be maintained for much longer. I think that it is going to end, this crypto madness, and so it's thankfully not just down to our tiny voices growing loud enough to be able to silence everybody else. I think that there is a time limit on all this, and there's going to be one blockchain standing, and Satoshi's blockchain is the only one that works and the only one that can do all this stuff. So again, if we can just hang in there, if we can just do our best to keep this dream alive, encourage developers, encourage businesses. Our time is coming. I'm sure of it, and that's what it's going to be. If it doesn't, and I don't think it is going to be like this, but if the status quo is maintained and we still have a world, a universe of multiple blockchains, and everybody, and all the exchanges. I mean, the exchanges are the worst of it all. In fact, crypto exchanges are the worst thing that could have ever happened to Bitcoin, because now it's just a casino, and nobody even cares what they're trading. They don't care about the blockchain. It's just a symbol on an exchange, and it's just a number go up or number go down. And that if that could continue, then it would be so difficult for us to come out on top. But that's all going to go away. Sure. I have no doubt. And when it does, then the only ones left standing will be those companies like that you see today, the BSV companies, and then of course a whole lot more that will suddenly spring up.
Sure.
As well.
Yeah, when they see the opportunity. Well, that's what a little anecdote here. When I was at the Consumer Electronics Show with a couple of Bitcoin Association people and Alex Moon and some others, I was telling people that would walk by and they're like, well, what do all you companies have in common here? Because it was Haste Arcade and Omniscape and VX Pass and it was all these companies that don't seem like they're not in the same industry. And I told everybody, I was like, well, this is the BSV booth, like this whole area. And think of it like if this was CES 1995, this would be like the internet booth. And the companies that are here are companies that are telling you internet companies are going to be big someday. and that everyone I said that to was like, oh, okay, very interesting. And and then I would ask them, hey, what business are you in? And if they were vaguely in medical, I'd send to the VX people. Or if gaming or whatever, I'd send them to Haste, or I'd introduce them to the Hand Cash people, or there was a bunch of different people there. But I think that's the really interesting thing, is that you can have something as trivial as playing a simple arcade game, but gamifying the process on the blockchain and bring in literally children, some old enough to just play a video game, and they're earning satoshis on the blockchain. Or it can be something like, company with a K just got acquired by Moody's, for example. And it's a major KYC. It's a huge acquisition. And this is the kind of thing that if that occurred in the Ethereum ecosystem, like, oh, Ethereum startup gets acquired by Moody's, like that would have been top page news across everything. There would have been a huge token pump and all of this stuff. But again, we're these ones that are quietly building on this network that can basically do anything. And it's just funny. It's funny to see how quiet that it remains, as people continue to basically ignore the things that we're crushing out here. We're really doing a lot of very big things. I'm going to cut to Mungo Jelly's question, because he's a buddy and a guy I've had a couple of good conversations with in the last couple of weeks here, asking, does Centbee do that fun new thing yet where you split up the outputs into a bunch of indistinguishable generic regular sized coins? ?
No, not yet. It has been on our to-do list, but we don't do that at this time. I mean, there's so many of those sorts of things that we want to bring in and we will. It's nice to see other companies when they do that sort of thing. We all learn from each other, and we adopt those good ideas. So those are sort of things that are on our to-do list that we absolutely will eventually get to. I mean, there's so many things on the Centbee to-do list, and we're just trying to work through them. Again, our team is pretty small, so it takes a bit longer for us to get there. But yeah, that's absolutely on our to-do list. We take seriously the ideas that Craig shares, when it comes to that sort of thing, making sure that privacy is maintained through creating small outputs. So those are definitely the ideas that we want to incorporate into Centbee. Right now, I think though, we look at that as a kind of nice to have later on when things kind of calm down, when our big goals are met. Right now our big goal is to get people to be able to top up and put money into their Centbee wallet, and then most importantly of all, to buy stuff. So we need that, because if without that we don't show revenue growth, and without revenue growth we can't interest investors in the company. So our focus is not so much on all the cool things that you can do with Bitcoin that will improve like privacy and make things more efficient and all that. We're single-mindedly just trying to give people a way to get Bitcoin and spend it. And
Sure.
once we've got that down, and we can float, we can keep our head above water, we can break even, and we can be sustainable, then I can assure you those kinds of ideas will be incorporated into Centbee.
Oh, it's brilliant. We only have a few more minutes here, so I'm curious, is there anything, actually any topic you want to talk about at all, but is there anybody that deserves a shout out, or people that deserve thank yous, or any message you'd like to leave with the community before we wrap up today?
Well, I would definitely like to thank all my users, and I'll just tell you a thing about the users of Centbee. I see you all. I deal with the support. I support every one of you guys. If you guys are going to be sending through some kind of problem with Centbee, I deal with that, and it keeps me awake. And I rush to my laptop and I put all my effort into trying to solve your problem. You must realize that it's not just faceless, anonymous people behind in a call center that are indifferent and are just ticking boxes and just trying to pacify you. Everyone at Centbee here, we take personally every single one of our users, and we're there for you, and we want to make sure that your experience with Centbee is perfect. That when we do have these glitches, we will do everything we can to try and solve it, and we will solve it. I mean, we've solved every single problem, but of course we're still small, and there are going to be hiccups. But you can have 100% faith that first of all, you'll never lose coins. You'll never, transactions will never go missing. They might look like they're missing temporarily in your wallet because maybe your wallet goes out of sync. But I feel the pain of every one of you guys.
Sure.
If you have an issue with Centbee, I'm the guy who really is the one who's suffering behind the screen. So please appreciate that, but I appreciate you all. Every one of you who download Centbee and then buy stuff with Centbee and top up with Centbee. I see you all, and I'm really grateful for that. And we have, my passion for the last 12 years, of course, has been to make Bitcoin accessible to every person on this planet, and that's going to be my passion for the rest of my life, as far as I can tell. I'm going to be, here building Centbee to make it the world's best wallet that could possibly be, at least in terms of payments. We don't really have a focus so much on integrating into games and the sorts of things that Handcash do. But we want Centbee to be your wallet. We want you to have cash on your wallet, and we want you to be able to spend it on every single thing your heart could desire. and we are never going to rest until your life is 100% improved by Centbee. So thank you, every single user out there. And also, if you haven't downloaded Centbee yet, grab it and check it out. It's it's got some rough edges, but it works. And there are ways you can spend your Bitcoin. I mean, you'll see just about every country has something that you can buy with your Bitcoin. I mean, of course, we're in all the US and the UK and in Europe, and we're in Asia, and we're in Australia, in South America. So every country almost, I mean, there's one or two, countries, North Korea, Afghanistan, there's a couple of countries that we don't have any
our single North Korean fan just went, shoot.
Yeah. But there's something for you there. And if you do have Bitcoin, you can go ahead and spend it. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's not about hodling. This is cash. Think about it as cash, but give Centbee a try and know that you're in hands that are passionately going to be, trying to make your experience the best possible experience. So thanks to all of the users.
For sure. No, I can attest it does work. I don't use it too much because I don't have a whole lot to do with it, but I have been a Centbee user since before BSV existed. I remember when it was a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and all of that. So it's been nothing but stable and good for me. So I can attest to absolutely. And then there's a chat here in the private chat with Alex Moon saying, yes, Lorien helped me recover my wallet. So he can attest to the helpfulness.
And as I mentioned earlier, Rory McDonald popped up, and of course I rushed and tried, sorted them out, so cool, Alex. I'm glad that you got sorted out and carry on using Centbee.
For sure. So we got about 2 minutes left now. Can you explain Honey Rewards real quick? What is that?
Well, it's simply cashback rewards. So if you are going to spend your Bitcoin with Centbee, we're going to give you cashback in BSV. So it's just a way to get you to be excited about spending, because you will get a percentage back on every one of your payments. And of course, it's BSV, so you can spend it again, and you can do whatever you want to do with it. So that's what it's just a way of incentivizing people to spend. And of course, it's a discount. So if you're buying something with Centbee, you're going to get a discount on whatever you're purchasing. So that's just a nice thing. But it also, if you do buy something with Centbee, take a photo of it, unless it's something you don't want to take a photo of. But take a photo of it and tweet it out, and tag it with shopping with Centbee, and we'll send you a lot more honey that you can use to buy stuff. So that's our incentive scheme to try and get people to use their Bitcoin, because that's what we want. We want people to use their Bitcoin, not to sit on it.
Yeah, brilliant. It's been wonderful talking to you, Lorien. It's been really good catching up. It's funny, right when you said it before we went live, it's like, man, we really haven't spoken in quite a long time. It's been nice to chat. So thank you so much. We'll be in touch soon, and happy New Year, and talk soon.
Thanks, Kurt. It's been great chatting. Thanks so much.
For sure. So there you have it, everybody. Lorien Gamaroff. Quite frankly, one of the most sincere people I've ever met in the Bitcoin space. I've known him very casually. Actually, I think we've only physically met once, but we've been in a lot of common circles, big blocker circles for a number of years now. And every time we speak, it's just I'm reminded, like, you know what, there are really kind people in the Bitcoin space, in stark contrast to some of the people who just want to stir the pot and cause chaos. But it's the sincerity. The sincerity just comes across, and I try to be the same guy. I try to be as sincere and real with people as I can too. So it's basically just means a lot to have other people that are out there running a business and really wearing their heart on their sleeve and doing a good job of it. So another thank you out to Lorien for his time. And really, I challenge you, everybody, if every one of you, the listeners now, is not currently using Centbee, go download it. It's on the App Store. It's on the Android store. It's everywhere you can download a mobile wallet. But give it a shot. I am Kurt W at Centbee, and you can send me some pay mail Bitcoin over Centbee as well. Maybe we can get a little chain going and play around with Centbee wallet so people can have some fun. So everybody, this has been the CoinGeek Weekly live stream. We're going to end it at 1 hour and 1 minute this time. So I want to thank my wife out there who is walking the kids around so I have a quiet house to do this show. And I want to wish my father a happy birthday. That's right. I'm Kurt Wuckert Jr., but Kurt Wuckert Sr. out there might actually be the best living Kurt Wuckert. And so I want to wish him a happy birthday as he is doing what he's doing. I'm sure he's working hard out there in Chicago. So miss you, Dad. It's been a while since I've seen you, and I wish you a very happy birthday. So check my private messages real quick. And yeah, so bad Kurt is the last message I get from Alex Moon. So thank you, Alex. May you also have a delightful evening. That's it. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody. Kurt Wuckert Jr., good night. Take care.